Mohammed Ali Shah joins us on the broadcast at this point. Major Shah, take us through the tactical details of what is going on in Mariupol. It is a key city in Ukraine, besieged by the Russian forces, and now we are given to understand that fighting continues where nationalist units have been stationed.
Oh, absolutely, Gauri. Mariupol is of great significant value and it is strategically located. So whoever gets hold of Mariupol has a strategic advantage there and there itself. And Mariupol is one of the four places where initial ceasefire was announced. And for a humanitarian corridor, there was Kyiv, Kharkiv, Sumy, and Mariupol. But immediately when the ceasefire was announced, we saw there was abrogation of ceasefire. And right now there is heavy action going on in Mariupol. But let me tell you, the Ukraine army and the people over there are putting up a tough resistance. And there is a lot of information warfare happening as well. And thanks to that information warfare, curtly that I would rather say, there is a lot of psychological warfare, a lot of mind games being played, and the morale of the Russian troops, I presume, at this point of time would be low, obviously, because the economy has hit rock bottom and the ruble is going to be as worth of a piece of paper. The Russian troops were surrounded by a lot of civilians as well, and they were taken hostages or captive or as prisoners of war, whatever you call it. Well, the first time I'm hearing soldiers who were... But now, whether these informations are how reliable they are, it is very, very difficult to ascertain, because Western media will play their games, the Russian media will put their part, and it's very, very difficult. But it's, at this point of time in a war zone, who do we trust? Because there's limited access to such areas, there is limited access to information, and but I commend NewsX, I commend you, Gauri, for actually putting up a very balanced front, and you guys, this channel is actually genuinely not taking any sides, but reporting as per how people should be seeing. So now, at the same time, now when Mariupol, there's action happening in Mariupol, and it is innocent civilians, women, children, the elderly who are being affected. Already there have been so many loss of lives. So certainly right now, the President, Mr. Joe Biden, is going to be coming to Europe, and he's going to be, let's see how far those talks are concerned, but also there is a fourth round of sanctions which has been slapped on Russia right now, and also a warning has been given, which you also brought out, to China by US, that because China is also very sly, they will their strategy has always been, now it's predictable to all of us. They will they'll take one step behind, of course, we all know that, but then they will take two steps further. Now, for example, we saw China also at the same time when at the UN Security Council, they did not vote. They abstained from voting, just like India or say UAE, because we had our own reasons. But China did that for the world to not to make it covert, otherwise the whole world would know. But if you think logically, China and Russia were hand in gloves. If you see logically, the Olympic Games in Beijing, whatever on 20th February, 21st February, President Putin announced the independence of two Donbas areas of Luhansk and Donetsk. And on 24th February, he, making use of Article 7 of the UNO Act, he attacked Ukraine, not terming it as a war initially and saying it's only a military action.
Stay on with us, Major Shah. Okay, hold on to your thought. I will come back to you. Major Shah continues to be on the broadcast with us. Thank you for staying on with us, Major Shah. This, of course, has to do with the kidnapping which took place several days ago of the mayor of the city of Melitopol. He's been taken to the Donbas region, the occupied city of Luhansk, the Russian-controlled territory of Luhansk. Your views on this, because political hostages will be taken. That is a part of warfare as and when it happens. Your thoughts and views on what is going on?
Very correctly, in a very apt manner, that it's political hostages would be taken, and it's these countries are at war. We have to understand that. And at the same time, there is information warfare going on. So when one actually terms it as a kidnapping, well, I would like to put it in a slightly different way. And it is not abduction or kidnapping. It is taken as prisoner of war. I would put it that way, because now when civilians are fighting and the Russian army is there, I'm giving a very, very balanced perspective on it, Gauri. If two nations are at war and you pick up somebody from there, and everyone over there has picked up arms over there. So what would one call it? As an abduction or a kidnapping, or one would call it a capture. So they have captured the Russian mayor, the Ukraine mayor, and they have he's taken as prisoner of war. As simple as that. You cannot. So the moment any of them, and let's not talk about Russia or Ukraine. X and Y are at war without naming any nation. If X picks up somebody from here, it is not just a political abduction or kidnapping. It is plain and simple prisoner of war, period. Now, we have President Putin's life is at stake, President Zelensky's life is at stake, yes, no doubt. What about the foot soldiers? What about the foot soldiers who have gone inside and the civilians who are dying? Their lives is not at stake. Everyone's life is at stake, and this is a war zone. This is a war, it's a very bad scene over there. You don't know where the next missile or the next bomb will fall, where the next bullet will fly. So now, an abduction or kidnapping is when you hold someone hostage and you ask for a particular demand, and you say that, okay, we have kidnapped, now you pass a ransom. Ransom need not be in money, it can be a demand. But here there is no such demand. Here it's purely a prisoner of war. At the same time, now obviously the martial law in Ukraine is likely to be extended, because late last night President Zelensky passed a bill to their parliament saying that even though there is martial law right now, from 24th March onwards, there could be a further extension for at least a month because of such activities that are happening over there. And yes, President Zelensky will also, he has proved himself to be a fighter, and he stood his ground. And of course, every nation has a right to protect their sovereignty and integrity. It's like someone coming to you with a gun, and just because that person has a gun, and you will not go down on your knees, you will probably fight. You will fight till if you feel that you're being unjust. But at the same time, you would not provoke that person, that knowing fully well that that person has a gun. Now let me equate it with a small example over here, Gauri. You know, India also has been under threat because of the neighbors have been misbehaving with India. Now what did India do? India protected its frontiers. It went on for a deal of getting the S-400 from Russia. And despite the risk of being imposed heavy sanctions by the US, because US had just imposed sanctions on Turkey for getting S-400. Well, Ukraine, with all due respect, what did Ukraine do? They were relying on foreign powers. They were relying on a triangle which they had formed: Latvia, Poland, Ukraine. They were relying on NATO. They were relying on European Union. They should have rather have focused more on strengthening themselves. A nation which was an expert of assembling defense parts, like the MiG-21 Bison aircrafts, were experts at manufacturing the naval ships. I mean, today they are unfit to manufacture a small part of a vehicle. So Ukraine also should have actually strengthened themselves instead of relying on foreign powers, and that is when such what they call as abduction or kidnapping or taking captive or a prisoner of war, whatever the terminology could be used.
Major Shah, hold on to that thought, because we'd also like to apprise our viewers of some more breaking news coming in from Ukraine. We're learning that heavy fighting in Donbass continues, and this is the Ukraine reporting of Russian casualties. According to Ukraine's armed forces, 100 Russian soldiers were killed and 6 vehicles were destroyed, and Russia tried to break through Ukrainian defenses in Donetsk Oblast to no avail, is what the army has reported. Also, we are learning that Russia has kept up attacks in Ukraine as two sides hold talks. So two interesting talking points there. One is what you of course mentioned in your answer before, where you spoke about Ukraine relying too heavily on foreign forces for their defense, and they should have also prepped themselves and not relied too heavily. So do you call that an error of judgment on Zelensky's part?
Not purely on Zelensky, on President Zelensky. Not purely on him, but also the previous leadership. In the year 2014, President Victor was overthrown and at the Maidan, which we know as the Independence Square. And in fact, President Zelensky, being a good speaker, good orator, the actor and the public speaker that he was, he also took part in that, and he was also, in a way, took part in overthrowing President Victor, because President Victor at that time had rejected a European Union deal. and rather he chose a $15 bailout from Russia. So a lot of people at that time thought that, now it is like Ukraine being sold out to the Russians, and many of them, 31% of them from the East, they favor Russian,
right.
Yes. But the West do not consider themselves as Russian. They consider themselves very different from Russian. They look at Russia with suspicion rather, as not their friend or their ally, but as their adversary. They do not really consider Russian as friends. So when he was overthrown, when President Victor was overthrown and he went off to Russia, at that time there was turmoil. And that time Russia had taken over Crimea at that time. And now when the previous government, also because President Zelensky has been in power just from March 2019 onwards, but it was enough time for him to actually, you cannot really make wonders. Like for example, if you join the European Union, you cannot join the European Union overnight. On 3rd March they did apply for that, Kyiv did apply for that, but then they've been told it would take time. But also the previous government, and if you look at it categorically, Gauri, Ukraine hardly has actually, on ground I'm talking about, not on paper, has hardly been independent. There was only a very brief stint before the First World War, and that's about it. And if you take back history, 9th century, Kyiv Rus, the capital was Kyiv. It was one country, and they were more powerful than the entire Russia. They were adversaries of US. So yes, it is not just an error of judgment on President Zelensky's part. He's there to buy the brunt, poor thing. I mean, that's one thing. And secondly, a lot of people had analyzed that, Russia is going to invade, and Russia is so powerful, and he is going to get his countrymen killed. I thought that myself. And I thought this is not any leadership where you are pushing your countrymen to death. But let me tell you, the reports that I have got from people who have come back from the war zone. Just yesterday I was with one channel, and the reporter over there had just come back from Poland. In fact, my cousin right now, she's reporting from another channel from Poland right now.
Okay.
So they have been telling me that, not a single person they found in Ukraine or towards Poland who would actually say that President Zelensky has actually got the countrymen killed. They are all standing by him. I was like, that is really, really very surprising, and I really commend the spirit, the fighting spirit of the people of Ukraine. And because that has slightly changed my perspective as well. Because it's not that I was favoring anyone, I was only favoring peace. I was against war. And I believe being peaceful is better than being right, because I have seen enough bloodshed, Gauri. I have seen real difficult times in the army before the ceasefire. Before the ceasefire came in 2003 at the Indo-Pak border. And I have seen such horrific sights, which till today, I still get nightmares of those sights, in fact.
Right,
so I know how horrifying war is actually. But then, Ukrainian president, in fact, he went to the hospital. He's been visiting people, the wounded soldiers in the hospital, and boosting their morale. On the contrary, the morale of the Russian troops will be down right now. Imagine the psyche of the person who's leading the column.
Major Shah, appreciate you joining us on the broadcast.